This has been Chapter 15. The Death of Marius. But no matter how many times I revisit this story, it never gets easier. So, let's talk about that. Why is that? Why does this guy keep coming back to haunt me? And why, if you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, will you know that Marius died in 86 BC? But he looms so large over the next century of Roman history, which we are now going to spend the next 70-some-odd episodes exploring. What is it about this guy? We have killed him twice now. He's dead. Right? I mean, I hope so. But what is it about this guy that continues to make him such a big deal? Well, first off, he was ambitious. He wanted more out of life than his patrician birthright could offer him. He did not want to be just another cog in the machine. He didn't want to play by the rules. He wanted to break them. And when he found a way to do it, when he discovered the power of the populares, the commoners of Rome, he rode that wave all the way to the top, and he showed other Romans, men of all classes, that it could be done. It's possible. This is why there's so many parallels between Marius and Caesar. They both came from minor families with relatively small fortunes, although Caesar's was a bit larger than Marius, but still not anywhere near the top of the pile. They were both men who used their political skills and military genius to achieve greatness, to achieve power that no one thought they could possibly attain because they had no right, because they were not of the highest born. So Marius showed Caesar, and Caesar took that lesson and ran with it, quite literally running all the way from his province of Gaul into Italy at the head of an army to take over Rome itself. But it wasn't just Marius's own story that he affected. He also fundamentally changed the way the Roman Republic worked. Before Marius, the patricians had been able to keep most of the offices for themselves. Sure, there were plenty of non-patricians who had become consuls and even dictators before, but it was rare. It was almost unheard of. There were only a handful of non-patricians who had ever held the consulship before Marius came along. But once he got the ball rolling, once he cracked the door open, it couldn't be stopped. Not only did Marius himself go on to hold the consulship 7 times, more than any other person before or since, but he helped men like Gaius Gracchus and Lucius Appuleius Saturnius get into the consulship as well. These were men who could never have dreamed of that sort of thing happening before. Marius smashed that ceiling. He broke through it and made it clear to all Romans that office, power, glory, those things were up for grabs. It just depended on whether you were willing to fight for it. Of course, others did. Marius' enemies within the Senate, Sulla and Pompey, they went on to seize power themselves and to defeat Marius' faction. But even in defeat, he left his mark on Rome, because even after he was kicked out of the city and declared an enemy of the state, even after he fled to Africa in disgrace, he came back, he regrouped, and he kept fighting. And that led to civil war, which in turn led to Sulla conquering Italy and establishing the first dictatorship in Roman history. So even though Marius lost in the end, he still changed the nature of the Roman Republic forever. He set in motion the events that would lead to the rise of Caesar and Augustus and the end of the Republic. And what's more, he also revealed the weakness, the fundamental weakness of the system. If one man could throw it into chaos, if one man could nearly break it, then clearly it wasn't strong enough. So everyone who came after him, especially his enemies, they knew that they had to be cautious. They had to watch their backs. Because if they weren't careful, someone else might come along and seize all the power for themselves. The last reason why Marius continues to loom large over Rome is that he refused to stay dead. Okay, technically, I suppose I should say I refuse to keep killing him, because every time I sit down to write a new episode, he always shows up again. And don't ask me why. You think I enjoy spending so much time with this guy? He's grumpy and unpleasant. It smells bad. ADS. A lot. I don't like doing it. But he keeps coming back, and I think it's because deep down inside, despite all the horrible things he did, deep down inside, he was actually a good Roman. He wanted what was best for Rome. Even if he went about it the wrong way, he cared deeply about the people. He fought to protect them from exploitation and injustice. He marched into the social war and single-handedly saved Rome from destruction at the hands of her own allies. He defended the Republic against the most dangerous threats, and in doing so, he became the greatest general in Roman history. And yet, he also recognized the faults in the system, the ways in which it failed to protect those allies that he had just spent years defending. He saw how the optimates exploited the poor, and he tried to help them. He wasn't perfect. No one ever is not in real life, certainly not in ancient Rome. But he was good, genuinely good. And it's that combination that continues to fascinate me. That combination of ruthless ambition and genuine concern for his fellow Romans. That's why he keeps coming back to haunt me. That's why he'll continue to loom large over Rome for decades to come. That's why even in defeat, he is still the greatest man in Rome. You know, maybe it's not so surprising that even centuries later, people still remember him. Now where were we? Yes. Marius lies dying. His fever is finally abating, but he is weak and exhausted. It's the end of the road for him, and Cinna is here to make sure that he knows it. Cinna is Marius' henchman, his instrument of violence, the one who carried out the dirty work for him. But Cinna is conflicted. He likes Marius, respects him, admires him, but he knows that Marius is dangerous. In fact, he knows better than anyone how dangerous Marius really is. After all, he's the one who has suffered the consequences of Marius' actions. He's been beaten and tortured for his pains, and now he's come to say goodbye to his old master. Marius opens his eyes and sees the young man standing over him. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know that Cinna has been sent to kill him. And as he looks at the young man, he remembers another young man, a handsome youth who once came to him seeking advice, a man who would go on to become his greatest rival. And as he thinks about it, he realizes that he hasn't changed at all. He's still a force for disruption, a threat to the established order. And as he thinks about that, he feels pride, but it's a cold, empty feeling. Nothing like the warmth of Cinna's smile. Cinna leans down over the old general and whispers something in his ear, but Marius can't hear what he says. And slowly, imperceptibly, perhaps only in a dream, Marius begins to smile. Cinna steps back and watches the old man drift off to sleep. He feels a pang of sympathy for him, but he's done his duty. The Republic is safe now. And he turns and walks away. And so ends Chapter 15. As Marius drifts into the arms of Morpheus, I invite you, dear listener, to drift into sleep yourself. Let the gentle lull of my voice carry you away as we contemplate the amazing legacy of Gaius Marius, a man who, whether he knew it or not, changed the course of history forever. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to help us make history together, join our community on Patreon. Our patrons get access to exclusive content, including early access to ad-free episodes. New patrons get a free audiobook from our shop. You can find links to our support page and our shop in the description below. Thanks for listening. See you next time.